It's time to start your morning by taking 5. Here's your host, Matt McMaster.
You're listening to Take 5, a quick 5-minute take on the biggest things happening in Nebraska sports. I'm your host, Matt McMaster, and yesterday something big happened in the Big Ten as the Indiana Hoosiers, the Big Ten blue blood, the historic basketball program, filled their coaching vacancy after they decided to essentially part ways with head coach Mike Woodson around the middle of the year. They did not make the NCAA tournament, even though they should have over North Carolina, and even though they were really close to doing that, they decided not to do a postseason tournament. So they have locked up their coach of the future, and it is Darian DeVries, the former longtime Creighton assistant coach who coached under both Dana Altman and Greg McDermott. Greg McDermott once again grows his coaching tree. It is quite astounding how many really, really good coaches are coaching around college that have come under the tutelage of one Greg McDermott. You got TJ Otzelberger, Alan Huss, Darian DeVries, Ryan Miller will now take over at Murray State. It's just quite an incredible list, and DeVries now gets one of the more coveted jobs, you would think, at least in college basketball, and will have a lot of opportunity and a lot of resources, and one of the better players in the country, his own son, Tucker DeVries, reportedly going with him to Indiana. It's a good hire for Indiana. I think that Hoosier fans wanted an Arkansas-type splashy hire. They were hoping for, getting their John Calipari. You saw so many big names get dropped throughout the entirety, especially in the beginning of this head coaching search, with, Brad Stevens being thrown out there, TJ Otzelberger being thrown out there, Nate Oates and Bruce Pearl were names that people wanted. Heck, Greg McDermott, right here from Creighton, was a guy that Indiana fans wanted their team to hire, but the Hoosiers end up going with Darian DeVries, who is an absolute winner. 144-25 over the last 5 seasons, 3 NCAA tournament berths during that time. Should have been a 4th this year. Still won't get over the fact that North Carolina got into the tournament over the Mountaineers, which, by the way, North Carolina's gone on the field of 64 after beating San Diego State yesterday. That did not count as a quad 1 win. Fun fact, that was a quad 2 win. So still, North Carolina with one Q1 victory in the NCAA tournament. What a joke. But hell of a hire from Indiana. Darian DeVries is a guy that is spoken very highly of across head coaching circles. He's known as a basketball guy, known as a grinder, known as a ball knower, just as an X's and O's dude. But even Doug McDermott had a lot of comments to say yesterday about his former, at the time, assistant coach, and talked about how great of a recruiter he is and how Darian DeVries is a guy that can relate to a lot of players, and he's such a great competitor. And I just think it's a really good hire from the Indiana perspective, because he just wants to win. The guy just wants to win. He's just a good basketball coach, and there doesn't have to be anything flashy about it. Just because you're Indiana doesn't mean you have to go and drop a big bag on some coach who has been doing great things at other places for so long, right? Darian DeVries is on the younger side of coaching. He's 49 years old. Yes, he's only coached Power 5 basketball for 1 year, but when you hear the things that people say about him and you read his rise to where he is now, he's just a guy who's a competitor. He doesn't care. It doesn't matter. With a guy like that who just wants to win, who when he gets in between the lines, all he focuses on is scoring more points than you, that is different. And, I think that there are some worries sometimes with this job that the pressure might get to someone. And let me tell you something right now. I got to Archie Miller. Archie Miller was one hell of a coach at Dayton, making 4 NCAA tournament appearances in a row, and then it didn't make it once while he was at Indiana. And I think, that is kind of the worry when you take a job like the one the Hoosiers have. But with D-Rock, just everything people say about him, everything you talk about, everything you know about him, the guy is just going to go in, he's going to grind, he's going to get the guys that fit his system, which is a unique system, and where, he's kind of gotten it under Dana Altman and gotten it under Greg McDermott, and it's very multiple. And bringing in his son Tucker, who was one of the better players in the country until he got injured in December with West Virginia, that'll be a really big boost to the program and really get him off and running. But I think a lot of people wanted Indiana to make this big old splash. And maybe Darian DeVries isn't a well-known enough name, but he's a damn good basketball coach. And that's what Indiana needs. Indiana just needed a guy who's going to go in, who's going to grind, who just knows a lot about the game, who just wants to win, right? And doesn't really care about the outside noise or anything like that. Darian DeVries just wants to win, man. He did it at Creighton. He did it at Drake. He did it at West Virginia in his very first year and should have made the tournament. And there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to do it at Indiana. So unfortunate for Iowa. It seemed like DeVries was destined to go there, but they miss out on it, and Indiana makes a great investment. We'll see how much he makes in the future, but I imagine it's going to be a pretty decent dollar for D-Rock. So that's been Take 5, and I've been Matt McMaster.